How the Titanic changed maritime safety forever. In the early 20th century, transatlantic travel represented luxury and prestige, with ships like the Titanic hailed as marvels of modern engineering. But on April 15, 1912, the Titanic's tragic sinking exposed severe gaps in maritime safety. This video will explore how that disaster became a global wake-up call, driving reforms that continue to safeguard lives at sea today. Ever wonder how one ship's fate could change the rules for millions who follow? Join us as we uncover the long-lasting impact of the Titanic on the way we navigate, protect, and secure every ocean journey since that night. The era's maritime mindset. To understand the Titanic's impact on safety, we need to look at the maritime culture of the time. In 1912, maritime travel was a symbol of power and technological progress. The Titanic was the world's largest and most luxurious ship, and its builders boasted that it was practically unsinkable. This belief led to a lack of proper safety protocols. Lifeboat capacity was based on tonnage rather than passenger count, with only enough lifeboats for about half the people on board. It's hard to imagine now, but there was a general disregard for disaster preparedness. Many thought maritime accidents were unlikely for such large vessels, especially with advancements like watertight compartments. However, those compartments had limitations. Once water filled more than 4, they could not save the ship. When the Titanic collided with the iceberg, 5 compartments flooded, and that unsinkable ship was doomed. This culture of overconfidence and limited preparedness marked the early 20th century maritime mindset. The Titanic tragedy would shatter that perspective, forcing leaders to confront the need for serious maritime reform. It was a time of shock, but it was only the beginning of a profound transformation in safety standards. Key safety failures revealed by the Titanic. As the Titanic sank, it became evident that both design flaws and operational oversights had contributed to the disaster. First, despite its reputation for being state-of-the-art, the Titanic lacked sufficient lifeboats, with only 20 on board for over 2,200 passengers and crew. This inadequacy stemmed from outdated British Board of Trade regulations, which required lifeboats based on a ship's tonnage rather than passenger capacity. Consequently, when evacuation began, there were not enough lifeboats to accommodate everyone, a failure that would haunt shipbuilders and regulators alike. Additionally, the lifeboats that were launched were not filled to capacity, a direct result of the crew's lack of evacuation training. Some boats left with only a handful of passengers, leaving hundreds stranded. This failure pointed to an urgent need for standardized evacuation procedures and regular safety drills, which are now routine on modern vessels. The Titanic's wireless operators also missed ice warnings from other ships, focusing instead on relaying passenger messages. These communication failures highlighted the need for a dedicated emergency communication protocol on all ships. Structural issues compounded the disaster. The Titanic's watertight compartments, which many believed would prevent sinking, were not truly watertight. Their bulkheads did not extend high enough to stop water from spilling over once the compartments filled. The ship's hull was also composed of materials that became brittle in icy conditions, worsening the damage upon impact. These design flaws shattered the public's belief in unsinkable ships and revealed the urgent need for more robust construction standards. In the aftermath, it became clear that both training and design needed an overhaul if such tragedies were to be prevented in the future. Immediate global impact and public pressure. The Titanic's sinking triggered an immediate and intense response worldwide. Investigations were launched in both the UK and the US, where officials and the public demanded answers. The tragedy dominated news headlines, creating public outcry for action and accountability. The sinking became a focal point for discussions on safety regulations, highlighting the shortcomings in existing maritime laws. In the United States, the Senate held public hearings where survivors and shipping executives testified about the disaster's failures. These hearings put unprecedented pressure on the shipping industry and pushed for rapid reforms. The British Board of Trade also conducted an inquiry, which revealed flaws in the regulations governing lifeboats, crew training, and ship design. This public and media pressure made it impossible for governments and maritime companies to ignore the need for change. People around the world were demanding safety assurances, and it was clear that reforms could no longer be delayed. The Titanic's legacy of public accountability continues to shape maritime safety discussions. The next chapter would outline the formal steps taken to prevent such disasters in the future. The Salas Convention. In response to the Titanic disaster, the international maritime community convened to establish the Safety of Life at Sea (SOLAS) Convention in 1914. SOLAS became a cornerstone of maritime safety regulations, representing the first significant global effort to address the failings exposed by the Titanic. This convention mandated crucial reforms, ranging from increased lifeboat capacity to standardized emergency drills and procedures. One of the primary changes introduced by SOLAS was a requirement for lifeboats to accommodate every passenger and crew member on board. This change was a direct response to the Titanic's insufficient lifeboats. SOLAS also mandated that lifeboats be readily accessible and evenly distributed on both sides of the vessel, ensuring quick access during an emergency. SOLAS established mandatory training for all crew members in emergency protocols, including drills and exercises that simulate real-life situations. This requirement was designed to prevent the kind of chaos seen on the Titanic, where a lack of preparation and training led to inefficient evacuation. Another major reform was the requirement for continuous radio communication. The Titanic's radio operators had ignored several ice warnings, focusing instead on private messages from passengers. SOLAS mandated that ships maintain a 24-hour radio watch, ensuring that critical safety messages would never be missed again. Over the years, SOLAS has been revised to incorporate advancements in technology, such as radar and electronic navigation systems. Today, SOLAS is considered the most important international treaty concerning maritime safety, with periodic updates to address new challenges. Its lasting impact on maritime safety highlights how the Titanic tragedy was not in vain. Instead, it set a foundation for ongoing improvements that have saved countless lives at sea. Modern technologies inspired by the Titanic. The Titanic's tragic end spurred innovations that transformed maritime safety. Radar, sonar, and satellite navigation were developed as critical tools to help ships detect obstacles and navigate safely. These technologies are now standard on ships, providing real-time information that helps avoid collisions with icebergs, reefs, and other hazards. Radar, invented in the 1930s, allows ships to detect nearby objects even in low-visibility conditions, an advancement that likely could have helped the Titanic avoid disaster. Sonar, which detects underwater obstacles, was similarly revolutionary. Both technologies enhanced situational awareness, reducing the chance of collision and grounding. The Global Navigation Satellite System (GNSS) has further enhanced maritime safety. Unlike in the Titanic's day, ships today can track their exact location anywhere on the globe, allowing for precise navigation and efficient route planning. Additionally, automated distress signals, which alert nearby vessels and rescue authorities in real time, are now a mandatory part of maritime safety. These technological advancements illustrate how the Titanic's legacy continues to drive improvements that keep modern passengers safe. Examples of modern safety protocols on today's ships. Today's cruise ships and cargo vessels follow strict safety protocols shaped by lessons from the Titanic. Every passenger boarding a cruise ship now participates in a mandatory safety drill, known as a muster drill, which demonstrates emergency procedures and evacuation routes. Crew members are highly trained in emergency protocols, with regular practice drills to ensure they can respond effectively in real crises. Lifeboats are not only abundant but are also tested and maintained regularly. Modern lifeboats are equipped with emergency supplies, communication devices, and engines, which make them more reliable than the simple rowboats used during the Titanic era. These drills and lifeboat standards underscore a commitment to passenger safety that began in response to the Titanic disaster. In addition, today's ships carry advanced medical facilities and staff trained in emergency response, highlighting the focus on preparedness and passenger well-being. By embedding safety into daily operations, the maritime industry honors the legacy of the Titanic and ensures that such a tragedy will not happen again. Conclusion and final reflection. The Titanic's sinking was a tragedy, but its legacy has transformed maritime safety standards. From the birth of SOLAS to the introduction of modern technologies, the Titanic's impact is still felt across the oceans. Today, every voyage benefits from the hard lessons learned over a century ago. We now sail with confidence, knowing that safety is prioritized and regulations are strictly enforced. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you're interested in more stories of resilience and innovation, subscribe for more content that explores the hidden impacts of historical events on today's world.